One of the advantages of living with 4 kidults is that preparing supper is not my exclusive duty anymore. I taught them all to cook when they were little, standing on stools at the kitchen table, up to their elbows in flour. My kids are rebel cooks, never following recipes, each with their own vegan style. Jake listens to loud as he chops and stirs, chucking in ingredients overarm. The kitchen is filled with a nose-prickling hit of chilies and clouds of steam. Zach cooks only pasta, leaving sauce splatters and bits of dried pasta stuck to the cooker, and other stranger places. Lily's food reflects her mood. It is either terrible or wonderful. But Megan is consistently brilliant. She is inventive and quick, with a natural talent for combining flavors. I'm always happy when it is her turn to make supper. Having done my share of cooking over the years, I am relieved to hand over to the younger generation. But my partner, Ed, is a frustrated chef. When I met him, he was known for his dinner parties, and when we moved in together he came with a library of cookbooks and an array of professional pans, heavy enough to flatten a burglar. Nowadays, he doesn't get a look in our kitchen. There is always a 20-something rustling up dinner with an air of entitled authority. Ed is relegated to chief bottle washer, and harbors some resentment at his demotion. When Ed and I decide to throw our annual supper for some proper grown-ups, he volunteers enthusiastically to cook. The kids promise to leave the kitchen tidy and not to interfere. Ed gets out piles of his cookery books and spends a happy hour poring over lengthy recipes and glossy pictures. What about this, he asks me. An automangi recipe with artichoke hearts. Sounds delicious. Artichokes, but we're feeding 10 people. He gives me a withering look, one that clearly says that I'm a culinary coward. Artichokes it is, then. Ed goes to the supermarket, returning laden with bags, his eyes gleaming. A huge pile of globe artichokes sits in the sink. The kidults, banished from the kitchen, are skulking in their rooms with bowls of cereal and Netflix. Our guests are due at 8 p.m. I am expecting Ed to start his preparations after lunch. But apparently there is something important he has to do for work first, and then something urgent that needs sorting out in the garden. I look at him nervously. By the time he begins to prepare the artichokes, I have changed, laid the table, and am on my second glass of wine. Every single leaf from each cooked artichoke needs plucking to reveal the heart. The time it takes to do this has been underestimated. For a start, the hot vegetables are impossible to handle. We yelp and drop them on the floor. After they have cooled, Ed and I stand shoulder to shoulder, silently plucking as if we are denuding a clutch of small chickens. Once we have got all the tiny, slippery hearts out, our sink is piled high with a mountain of leaves and fibrous material. Ed decides to put the lot in our waste disposal unit. It grinds, whirs, and stops with a gasp. Ed gets onto his knees, spreading the contents of the undersink cupboard around him: boxes of old dog biscuits, bottles of disinfectant, and forgotten clutter. As he undoes the pipe, there is the of rushing water. Dirty, scummy liquid floods the floor. We gaze at floating artichoke petals and some unrecognizable organic matter. Soup, Ed suggests with a hint of hysteria. Oh, God, I'm pouring my 4th glass. They'll be here soon. I can still save the day, he says. Or, I suggest quickly, we could ask Megan to rustle something up. The thing is, I confess, I don't really fancy artichokes anymore. Sometimes it is useful to have a semi-professional vegan cook to hand. Megan, we both yell up the stairs. I just hope she can hear us over Netflix. Some names have been changed.